If you're someone who can't take a single day off or wake up at noon and not get ready without feeling completely terrible about yourself, hating yourself for not getting anything done, wishing you were more productive, not feeling relaxed at all even though you took the day off, then this is for you. So I started reading this book. And this book, it is going to make you question all the reasons why you overwork yourself, why you don't give yourself free time, why you believe that you are only good when you are being productive. To understand why we feel this way, we do have to go back in time and put this into context. So for like 300,000 years, Homo sapiens did not work 40 plus hours a week. And we didn't even work 300 days a year. Going back as 4,000 years ago to the days of ancient Greece, we find that Athenians had up to 60 holidays a year. And by the middle of the 4th century BC, there were nearly 6 months of official festival days on which no work was done at all. Work for the ancient Greeks was carried out in spurts, intense activity during planting or harvest, followed by extended periods of rest for celebrations and feasts. Humans were pretty happy living this way for tens of thousands of years until about 1760 when the industrial age started in Britain. And up until the 19th century, only the wealthy could afford candles. So in the summer, the day was about 14 hours long, and in the winter, we only had 10 hours. So sundown, lights out. Now, the book does not try to suggest that you should go back to medieval England and be a serf on a plantation. Their quality of life definitely sucked. But even serfs, who were essentially servants, worked less than us right now. And before the industrial age, most people were actually self-employed or contractors, making their own schedules. Think of tailors, blacksmiths, and even farmers who tended to their own crops. But then, factories came into the picture. Suddenly, your local glassblower couldn't compete with the glass factory. So they would have to sell their tools and take a position on the factory floor, which at that point, their tools would belong to the employer, not themselves. And this is where the significant transfer of power begins, further stagnating social mobility. Cut to 1879, we now have the invention of the light bulb. The light bulb actually changed everything because daytime initially used to signify waking hours, as in when the sun was up and when it went down, and now it was signifying working hours, meaning that we could work longer past when the sun went down. This is literally what led to labor unions. Workers were complaining that we should be working reasonable hours. These were not reasonable hours with the invention of the light bulb. We were now working past sundown. They were like, this is not okay. The fight over working hours has, from the start, been about returning to the kind of life we had for millennia. People marched and protested, and then was born the 8-hour workday. So then how did we go from hunger strikes and fighting policemen in the streets, fighting for these working hours, to answering emails voluntarily on a Sunday night and finishing up late at the office? Stay for part 2. This is the part 2 analysis of the book. Do nothing. So it's the early 20th century now, and employees have won the victory over working hours. Employers have effectively lost the political fight, so they had to switch their battleground: culture and religion. Reading this book came at such a timely point in my life because I started to question why I denote positive moral value to working harder, working longer, and making more money. This is actually largely due to the fact that the Protestant work ethic views idleness as immoral and hard work as virtuous. If you live in the modern Western world, then you are a product of the Protestant work ethic, which was largely responsible for the growth of capitalism and the success of Northern Europe. At the same time, the idolization of hardworking people came into play with people like Benjamin Franklin. Good old Ben Franklin was considered a self-made man. He also said, "There is nothing good, great, or desirable that does not come by some kind of labor." So we start to also see changes in language due to this evolving philosophy, such as bootstrapping. In the early 1800s, this literally meant to pull yourself over a fence using only your bootstraps, which was basically meaning to do something completely ridiculous. This phrase later transformed to mean someone who was going to go from rags to riches through individual effort only, and it became a serious compliment. These notions started to mirror the opinions of broader society, and now people were starting to idolize people like Henry Ford. Capitalism was really out there making people believe that you could, by your own efforts, go from rags to riches, which is not impossible. But even as the income gap continued to grow, many Americans actually convinced themselves that they could go from rags to riches through honest labor. And employers took advantage of this. John Swansburg, the editor of The Atlantic, wrote, "Is it a healthy myth that inspires us to aim high, or is it more like a mass delusion keeping us from confronting the fact that poor Americans tend to remain poor Americans regardless of how hard they work?" So if we zoom out, we can start to see how the industrialist desire to have fewer workers working more hours aligned with the religious belief that idleness is bad and hard work is good. So the glassblower from part 1, who now has to work in the factory and can no longer set his own hours or wages, begins to understand that time is money, which now signals to Americans that idle hours is a waste of money. Understanding this makes it so easy to see why so many of us don't have pastimes or have trouble scheduling leisure. So then if work is what makes someone worthwhile and deserving, then we start to view people who work less as undeserving and worth less. This is what insidiously leads people to believe that leisure is stressful. If our worth is our time spent at work and it's mixed with our identity, then we're going to feel stressed anytime we're not at work. So who benefits from this? Your employer. Does crying ruin my manifestations? Oh my God, I love this question so much because I used to freak out about this all the time. I used to be so scared that every time I got sad and I cried, or if I got angry and frustrated, that I was ruining my manifestation. Let me start off by saying that's not possible. Your manifestation is always coming. It's just that the speed at which it physically manifests will depend on how energetically aligned you are with it. Okay, so let's think of it like a funnel. Enjoy this shitty picture I drew. The universe and its infinite possibilities exists over here, and one of the infinite possibilities contains this new car. Let's just say that's what you're trying to manifest, and it's trying to send it over to you. You're over here in your current reality. But you are constantly getting anxious every single time you think about the new car, how much money you're gonna need from the new car, how it's never gonna come, how bad your current car is, how frustrating it is that you don't have a car, or maybe that you have a crap car. And so you are constantly emitting the energy of anxiety, which is causing a blockage in the middle. So your car, or whatever you're trying to manifest, is hanging out in that little holding space. So it just gets stuck. It doesn't get ruined. It doesn't go away. You don't mess it up. You are just blocking it by emitting the wrong vibration. Remember, law of attraction can only attract like with like. So the vibration of the car is happiness, success, confidence, and you are being an anxious curmudgeon. So it's getting stuck. This little funnel right here is what Abraham Hicks refers to as a vibrational escrow. If you've bought real estate, you probably have heard the term escrow before. It's where your deposit goes, where it is held until it is paid out to the seller upon completion. So it just gets held there. It's in the infinite possibilities universe over there. You're over here. As soon as you remove this blockage, then it can zip over to you. Okay, but you're like, this video is about crying. What happens when I cry? Yeah, what does happen when you cry? Crying is actually energy and emotion moving through your body. It's actually releasing energy and literally coming out in the form of tears out of your freaking eyeballs. How cool is that? And if you would allow yourself to cry without muddying it up with thoughts about crying and why crying is bad, why crying is weak, then you would actually remove the blockage. But unfortunately, so many of us have been socialized to think certain things about our emotions. So then we cry, but then we follow it up with thoughts like crying is bad, crying is weak, oh, crying is ruining my manifestation, and I shouldn't be crying. These thoughts create new blockages. Now you've got a shame blockage, maybe a frustration blockage, any type of blockage from those negative thoughts about crying. Think those thoughts all day, it's your mood. Think it for years, it becomes your personality. And then it becomes your personal reality, where you now exist with these constant thoughts in rotation, creating more and more blockages, which is only delaying your manifestation. So in final, no, crying does not ruin your manifestations. Your negative thoughts about it do. Stop. If you're watching this video, it is because you are into law of attraction, and I'm going to share exactly what I wish I knew 5 years ago in this really quick video. I'm going to be sharing all of my steps for manifesting without any sort of techniques and be able to explain why manifestation hasn't been working for you so far. Okay, so a lot of the techniques that are out there on TikTok are all about scripting, listening to subliminal audios. All of them are keeping you in the chasing energy or lack mentality. They're all asking you to focus on the thing that you want, but while you are focusing on the thing that you want, you are in the energy of not having it. And so you are constantly hitting up against an obstacle. Law of attraction only knows how to attract like with like. It doesn't really care whether you want that thing or you don't want that thing. Whatever you constantly think about and whatever vibration you are constantly emitting, it will match that. So this is why you believe by focusing on it, journaling about it, constantly thinking about it is going to attract it to you. But the entire goal of manifesting is to release resistance to that which you want so that it can flow to you or be attracted to you. It will not come by chasing after it, hustling for it, and burning out. So for just a minute, forget about every single thing you want and focus on these steps. Number 1, pay attention to what thoughts are inside of your head. Don't judge them, just notice them. Do they say, I'll never have enough money, I'll never have a perfect partner, I'll never have a great job? If you are hearing words, they are thoughts. Number 2, now ask yourself, do I believe these thoughts? And be honest. Most people believe their negative thoughts, and that's okay. But the next part is where most people get stuck. Manifestation teachers and coaches will just teach them that they need to believe in themselves. But this is where they get everything wrong. Going from here, not believing in yourself, not believing you're going to have enough money, the perfect partner, perfect job, to believing that you will eventually have $1 million, a perfect marriage, and all of that, it's way too far of a jump. You can't go from here to there. You have to stop in the middle. You don't believe this yet, so it's not going to be a vibrational match to your current energy. So we have to collapse the space between where you are and where you want to be in the middle. How do you do that? Well, first of all, you have to understand that the only reason why you want the thing is because of the feeling that you think you're going to get from the thing. So first of all, release the idea that you can only be happy once you get the thing. Now, all you have to do is pick one low resistance thought that you can believe that makes you feel happy. Yes, this will feel pointless at first, but this low resistance thought is going to bring you into the vibration of the thing that you actually want. Okay, keep watching. I have to do a part 2. Okay, so I just ended part 1 by talking about step number 3, which is actually the last step, but I'm going to go further into it. Before I do that, I feel like we need another manifestation disclaimer. Manifestations are based on feelings, literally the sensations in your body. Manifestation or law of attraction will not respond to your thoughts. So this is when you start realizing that it doesn't really matter what you think, it just matters what you feel, which is why I'm telling you to only pick one low resistance thought that always brings you into a vibration of either happiness or peace. This thought is going to be different for every single person. I mean, consider the fact that if I'm in the Philippines, my thoughts are going to be in Tagalog, and if I'm in the States, my thoughts are probably going to be in English. So it doesn't really matter what words you're saying to yourself, it's just that they produce a feeling of happiness. So I tend to think, I'm so glad I have hair on my head. I am so happy I have unconditional love from my parents. Obviously, these thoughts aren't going to produce the same feelings in everyone. And once again, it does not matter what the thought is. It just has to make you feel good. Now, remember how I said this was going to feel pointless? This only feels pointless because you've been taught that you need to focus on your manifestations for them to come to you. But this is exactly what not to do, because the more you think about it, the more resistance you're creating to it, because you're constantly looking for the perfect partner, the perfect job, the perfect marriage, and it's not there. So you're creating resistance to it. And resistance or non-belief is the killer of all manifestations. So by picking that one easy thought that makes you feel better is what Abraham Hicks means, which he calls it going general. They tell us to stop being so specific. Just go general. Just think about one nice thing you like. Oh my gosh, my sheets are so cozy. Oh my God, the sun is shining. It doesn't matter what you're thinking as long as it brings your vibration back up. Again, seemingly unrelated because you're not thinking about the thing that you want, but all you have to do is have the feeling. Because as long as you're thinking about it and creating resistance, law of attraction can't understand what to bring in. Actually, it does understand. It's going to keep bringing in all the negative stuff, because if that's what you're feeling by thinking about the thing that you want and not having it, then it'll just give you more of not that. It only knows how to attract like with like. So you want to feel happy in a relationship? Feel happy single first. You want to be rich to be happy? Be happy poor. You want to feel positive? Be happy being negative. It literally is, as Alan Watts calls it, the backwards law. It's like you can't get there from here. You have to be okay here to get there. So the weirdest thing to the ego is that, oh, I have to forget everything that I want in order to get it. And the answer is yes. Imagine being so whole, so complete, and so happy that you don't even need the thing anymore. And that is when it just comes gushing in. It'll come rushing in, it'll surprise you, it'll be amazing, but you will not have even needed it. That's how you attract. If you're seeing this video, it's probably because you've seen one of my manifestation videos or into that kind of stuff, but keep watching to hear my biggest no-no. The biggest no-no to manifestation is actually so interesting because it actually brings so many people to manifestation. At the time that they discover manifestation, they get so excited because this is going to be another means to an end to figure out how to get the thing that they want. So most people, when they initially discover manifestation, they are in the desperate wanting mode. This is why upon discovering the law of attraction and manifestation, a lot of people actually can't manifest because they are so desperately trying to get the thing they want and they're not energetically aligned with the thing that they want. They mistakenly believe that law of attraction and manifestation in general is going to be the one last final saving grace method that's going to get them closer to what they want. Most of these people will try, and then fail, and then say manifestation doesn't work. These people have completely missed the point of manifestation and law of attraction altogether, which is to match the energy of your desire. What so many people don't understand is that wanting only breeds more wanting. So say that you want $1 million. If you get to $1 million, you will no longer want $1 million, you will want $2 million or $10 million. No amount of wanting and getting of the wanting is going to actually make you feel happy. So if you are still wanting it, you are not attracting it, you are chasing it. My favorite metaphor for this is actually when you are trying to chase and catch a feather. The more and more you run after it, the more it continues flying in the air, and once you stop trying to chase it, the feather falls on your lap. This is exactly how law of attraction works. You attract as soon as you no longer need the thing to make you happy. You embody the feeling of having it before having it. Only then can law of attraction respond with the thing that you were desiring in the first place, once you energetically embody how it feels to have that thing. So how do you do this? You look around at your life, your family, your friends, your job, your bank account, everything, and you just ask yourself, what if this was enough? What if I already had everything? Just imagine, your brain has no idea the difference, but just imagine what it would be like if this was enough. If you already had the thing, the marriage, the bank account numbers, the career, you already have it. Imagine what that feels like now and try to hold that vibration for as long as you possibly can. The longer you can hold this vibration will determine how quickly you can manifest your greatest desires. How to shift from negative to positive thoughts and speed up your manifestations. Okay, so I have a ton of people in my comments asking me how I stop thinking negative thoughts or how do I start thinking more positive. Well, remember in my first video where I talked about how you can't go from one end of the spectrum to the opposite, meaning I can't go from I hate my body and I'm so ugly to I love my body and I'm beautiful. You don't believe that latter thought yet, and you may never believe that thought, but I'm here to tell you that you don't have to. This is what you do if you want to shift your thoughts from negative to positive. First, become aware of the thought. What is your brain saying? Actually write these down. Write down, I hate my body, or I will never have enough money, or I will never find my perfect partner. Write them down. It doesn't matter if they aren't positive. It doesn't matter if you like what they're saying. Just write them down so that you actually know what's going on up there. To start, pick the one that's causing the most pain. For me, it was always, I hate my body. Now, number 2. Invert this statement and turn it into a what if question. So I hate my body becomes, what if I didn't hate my body? How would I act and feel? If that's too hard, ask yourself, what do people who don't hate their body do? How do they act and feel? Now, sit for at least 5 minutes and try to imagine this feeling in your body. Something should eventually shift. You should feel a bit of a burden being lifted, a lightness moving through your body, and then move on with your day. Do not berate yourself about how you should love your body already, how something is wrong with you if you don't love your body. Those are just adding more and more blockages. Just imagine how you or someone else would act if they didn't hate their body. On my journey, this started off with one vegetable being added a day, and then I got curious about a Pilates class, and then a spin class, because this is what I imagine that people who love their bodies do. But a lot of people get hung up and tell themselves that they can't act like that until it's true. Like, I'm sorry, but what do actors do before they become well-known actors? They go to auditions, they take acting classes, they network with other actors, they move to cities where actors are found. Like, that's the only way to become an actor. You don't get to become an actor after your first movie comes out. You start before. So it starts here. Change your negative thoughts by turning them into inverted what-if questions and see how your energy changes. I'm going to start teaching a select few how to do this one-on-one in early 22, so if you're ready to learn, sign up with the link in my bio and follow for more tips. These are the 2 questions I live by that have allowed me to manifest everything. Number 1, how would I act if I had everything I ever wanted? This question actually allows me to combine 3 laws of the universe, which are the law of assumption, law of action, and law of attraction. For those of you who don't know, the law of assumption teaches us to assume the feeling of our wish fulfilled. So if it's more money I want so that I can feel more confident, more successful, then I'm going to attempt to embody that feeling now by asking myself this question. Then if I can hold that vibration, if I can hold that feeling in my body long enough, the law of action will kick in. I will naturally begin to start taking the types of actions that confident people take. By asking myself this question every day, I'm able to access the habits of confident people. So it has increased my ability to network, go for things that I never thought I could do before. I ran a half marathon, actually 3 half marathons a couple years ago, and I never ever thought that I could ever embody the lifestyle of a person who does something like that. But I started asking myself, how would I already act if I had ran a marathon? And so I started doing things that marathon people do. So these 2 laws end up working in tandem with law of attraction, which end up speeding up my manifestation. This is how you actually fake it to make it. Number 2. Okay, the day I learned this question is literally the day my life changed. I got this question from Teal Swan, who is someone I follow on YouTube. She does a ton of videos on emotions and manifestation and all things woo-woo. She says to ask yourself every single day for a year, what would someone who already loves themselves do? Now, as someone who has hinged her self-worth and self-acceptance on achievements and improvement for so many years, decades really, This question allowed me to really shift my narrative and start accepting myself as I am, and instead try and achieve my goals out of love rather than fear. So then working out, which used to be a form of punishment, becomes mindful movement. My desire for more business to assuage my feelings of not enough become acts of service. You could literally go your entire life asking yourself these 2 questions, and I am positive you will have an amazing life. Follow me for more tips, and then DM me on Instagram for coaching questions. Hey guys, so finally today I'm talking about one of my favorite concepts and tenets of Abraham Hicks' philosophies, which is ask and it is given. So in Abraham Hicks' steps for manifesting, step 2 is know that once you ask, it is already given. This comes after step 1, which is experiencing contrast or an experience that you do not prefer so that you actually know what to focus on and what you want to bring into your life. The reason why so many people have resistance to this concept of asking it is given is because once they ask, they immediately go looking for it in the physical reality. They will, of course, look around and observe a lack of evidence and then go about emitting the wrong vibration to actually receive it. But what Abraham is actually saying that is getting lost in translation is that once you ask, what is given is its vibrational reality, meaning it is only real vibrationally at first. So as soon as I can think it or imagine it, perceive it, it becomes a vibrational reality. So before the phone in your hand became a physically observable thing in our physical reality, it existed as a vibration, an idea, a thought. The same goes for your manifestations. The marriage, the business, the bank account numbers, all of these exist too as vibrational realities. Now, what vibrational reality actually becomes physically manifested will have to do with what energetic frequency you are consistently emitting and what matches those. Unfortunately, the law of attraction is working perfectly. It is working perfectly for you, but it is not working in the direction that you want it to. Every single time you think a negative thought, you create a vibrational reality equivalent to that thought. If you think it long enough and you start to associate strong emotions with it, you energize it and strengthen it and bring it closer to you into the present reality. Okay, so now I want to demonstrate this using a super easy example. If I'm craving spaghetti and I want to eat this for dinner, it becomes a vibrational reality as soon as I think it. Now, for me to get from where I am to the reality where I'm actually eating spaghetti for dinner, I'm going to have to take aligned action in the present until that reality becomes my present reality. This might include going to the grocery store, making the meat sauce, boiling the noodles, so on and so forth. Dinner time comes around and now I'm eating spaghetti. This was a very easy manifestation. And yes, it does count as a manifestation because anything big or small that goes from idea into physical matter is a manifestation. This manifestation was so easy because I had no resistance to it, meaning that I did not believe in my inability to create spaghetti. Now, if I try the spaghetti and I don't like it, then that's contrast. That's step 1. Now, that will cause me to ask for ratatouille. Something bigger, something better, and it is given. Meaning that now a vibrational reality exists where I am creating and eating ratatouille. But if I am too focused on how hard ratatouille is to make, how I only know how to make spaghetti, it's going to take forever for me to learn how to make ratatouille, then I am putting resistance in the way of the reality where I have ratatouille coming to me in this reality. Go back to my profile for the rest of this in part 2. Okay, so you have made it to part 2 of me explaining ask and it is given. So in part 1, we talked about how as soon as you think a thought, you create a vibrational reality equivalent to that thought. I started off by using the very simple example of what we're going to be eating for dinner. What we're going to be eating for dinner usually does not cause a lot of resistance, so I use the example of spaghetti, which is something that everyone can make. As soon as you or I have the thought that we're going to eat spaghetti for dinner, we don't experience any resistance to creating a reality where we have spaghetti for dinner. In this way, we take aligned action, meaning we're going to go to the grocery store, get some ingredients, get everything we need in order to make spaghetti. When we are living in the reality where we are eating spaghetti for dinner, we are not actually surprised or astonished because we knew and believed in our ability to make spaghetti. But if I try my spaghetti and I don't like it, then that's me experiencing contrast, meaning that now I know what I want instead of spaghetti. So then I start asking for different things. I start asking for ratatouille. As soon as I imagine myself eating ratatouille, it immediately becomes a vibrational reality, meaning that as soon as I ask for it, it is given vibrationally. What actually gets in the way of me creating the reality where I'm eating ratatouille or creates resistance is me believing that ratatouille is a really difficult recipe. I've never made it before. I don't know how I'm going to get all these ingredients together. It's going to be so hard. It's going to take forever. It already exists and has already been given to me as a vibrational reality, but I'm consistently focusing on how much harder it's going to make than spaghetti. I'm creating so much resistance to allowing that reality to come in so that when I go to the grocery store, I don't even buy ingredients to make ratatouille. This is how we consistently manifest undesired realities over and over and over again. We keep giving energy to everything that we don't want rather than what we do want. So if I want ratatouille, but I still have a lot of resistance to it, what I would suggest if I were standing in your physical shoes is to stop thinking about ratatouille. Instead, I would reach for low resistance thoughts like, I have done hard things before, or this is just a recipe, surely anyone can figure this out. Even if I never make ratatouille, there are many more recipes that I can focus on making. These phrases will reduce your resistance and smoothly put you into alignment with the reality where you make ratatouille without your brain freaking out. Now, when you make it to the grocery store, you are actually going to be keen on buying ingredients for ratatouille because you are no longer hinging all of your self-worth on whether or not you make this recipe correctly or not. Now, by this point, you have to understand that ratatouille can be replaced with becoming rich, getting a partner, making money. But what you're doing is shaming yourself for not being able to make the ratatouille already, which only continues to strengthen the reality in which you only know how to make spaghetti. This is how consistently focusing on how not rich you are continues to make you poor. So stop focusing on the ratatouille and your inability to make it. Reduce your stress around ratatouille by focusing on low resistance thoughts that are going to naturally put you in vibration with it. 2 figures of speech that are keeping you in low vibrations. So I randomly majored in linguistics in university, and we took a class where we actually talked about how language can actually affect and alter the way we perceive things. So number 1, in English, we say, I feel like before we think any thought. We say, I feel like my boss hates me. I feel like my friends are really mad at me. I feel like I'm going to be single forever. These are not feelings. They are thoughts. If I compare this with Spanish, if I want to say an opinion about something, I actually say yo pienso que, which means I think that, and then followed by the thought. So in this language, Spanish, and many others, it's very clear that what I'm about to say is a thought. But in English, because it is preceded with I feel like, we mistake them for feelings. And this is why we're always in our head. This common expression or way of expressing opinions is actually keeping us in our heads and out of our bodies. So we're never actually processing the emotion and feeling the types of sensations and feelings that are resulting from those thoughts. So how do we fix this? The next time you catch yourself saying something or thinking something like, I feel like I'm always behind, notice and then switch it for, I am thinking the thought that I am always behind. This will immediately create some space between you and the thought. From that space, you have about 5 seconds to decide if you actually want to keep this thought or not. Most of us never make it to this space. But if you can make it to this very small space, then generally speaking, you will choose a different thought, and then you will improve your mood or your vibration. The second figure of speech. This is a very common illusion, and it comes from the way that we talk about it, but we always say things like, I need to make money, keyword being make. When we say we need to make money, it indicates to us that there's not enough money and then we need to go out there and somehow create it. But we don't make money. I don't physically print money. You don't print money. There is no making of money involved. But what I can do is attract money by providing value. So then all the money I could ever make already exists. I don't make it. It's already in other people's accounts, business accounts. Now, how much gets circulated in my direction will have to do with how much value I create and share. So let's say Ariana Grande loses all of her money tomorrow. Is she poor? No, she can just go on tour or release another album and she'll make it all back or attract it all back. So we actually think that being rich is having a lot of money in my account. But no, being rich is an embodiment of your values, your joy, living in alignment with that. It's not about getting so rich. It's about becoming soul rich, which inevitably attracts more money. Hey friends, so all of my videos are really long, so I'm going to start doing shorter ones. So this is a short one. This is your daily reminder that unless someone tells you what they are thinking, you do not know what they are thinking. Meaning that most of your emotional reactions to people and situations are actually just your thoughts about yourself. If you are thinking, oh, they probably think I'm fat or they probably think I'm ugly, you think you are fat. You think you are ugly. Oh, they probably think I'm really stupid and lazy. You think you are stupid. You think you are lazy. My favorite one, they're probably really mad at me. You are mad at yourself. But when you realize that it's you thinking it and not them thinking it, you can change it. So I'm at the beach right now, just having my morning reflections, and I saw that my video about time started to kind of blow up overnight, and it got me thinking more about time and psychological time. And I realized that the only reason why anyone would ever be in a rush, the reason why you're in a rush for your manifestation to happen, is because you are hinging all of your feelings of worthiness and happiness and success on achieving that thing. You have told yourself and the universe that you will not be able to access those feelings until the thing happens or comes into your life. But there's a very dark and toxic reality that is its opposite once we do achieve this thing, if we are coming from this energy. What happens is once we achieve the relationship or the bank account numbers or the body size, a new panic ensues, and that is the desire to keep things that way, to make sure we never gain an extra pound, to make sure the relationship never goes away, to make sure the bank account numbers never change. This becomes a new replacement for the wanting, and this is a new wanting. It's a wanting to keep. This neuroticism is actually a fear of the future, in which we feel that we can no longer be happy because we haven't been able to hold on to the thing. And what's interesting is that the desire to keep things a certain way actually does not ensure your happiness in the future. The only thing it ensures is unhappiness in the now. But if you watch my last video about psychological time, then you know that there is no future. We don't arrive in the future arrives to us. So then if we cannot find a way to be happy with what we have right now, everything that we've achieved or haven't achieved already, we will never, ever feel happy. For most people, this might sound really daunting, as if like, I'm never gonna feel happy. What do you mean? What I mean is that the only place you can feel happy is in the present, because this is the only place where you ever are. But the good news is that this is the only place you ever have to ensure your happiness. You don't have to ensure your happiness in the future, and you don't have to ensure your happiness of the past. Those places only exist up here. The only place you have to be happy is right here.